Hey everybody, back here again, and today we're going to be talking about how to not blend two genres with Justin Timberlake's new album, Man of the Woods. If somehow you aren't aware of this man, but are somehow also woke enough to know who I am, Justin Timberlake is a mega pop star that is actually much more than a musical artist at all, more as an entertainer, and perhaps one of the greatest entertainers of all time, if not the greatest. Although the recent Super Bowl performance by him wasn't top-notch, he's still etched his face into the Mount Rushmore of entertainers. Justin initially gained his fame in the late 90s and early 2000s with the iconic boy band NSYNC. Once they split, Justin Timberlake became the hotspot of the members and launched his solo career, which to date has 3 albums not including Man of the Woods. Justified, his solo debut, Future Sex Love Sounds, which is seen as one of the most influential pop albums ever, which shaped the way we knew pop music. And then most recently in 2013, the double album, the 2020 Experience, that only boosted him into a higher level of fame. With all that being said, I didn't really have that high expectations for the album. I did really like 2020 Experience. I was a bit younger when his previous 2 pieces of work came out, so I didn't really get to fully experience them at the time. But 2020, I thought was a fantastic album with Suit and Tie and Mirrors. So I coming into this though, I just knowing the legacy that he had, I was like, how can you go this long without your castle crumbling? And then also on top of that, after he released 2020, he also teased towards him wanting to make a country track or album. And so I kind of figured that would be what's next for him, considering he takes a while to get on with his music. There were 3 singles that were released for the album, and all in 2018, starting with Filthy, which sent Twitter spiraling into a demonic rage of if it's good or not, with everybody fighting each other. There was Supplies, and also the Chris Stapleton featuring song, Say Something. Right off the bat is Filthy in all its glory, opening up the album. Midnight Summer Jam, Sauce, and the title track all follow before wandering through a few more tracks down to the second single, Supplies. Following Supplies is the 2 feature tracks on the album, Morning Light with the Alicia Keys and the aforementioned Say Something with Chris Stapleton. After those, the Hers interlude shows up, followed by the more country, the true country part of the album, which is the final 6 tracks. Before I go in, I must warn, I'm not a country fan, and this is a blend of pop and country that have not really been explored yet. Filthy, to start off, was just flat out odd. When I talk to somebody about the song and I'm describing it to them, I really have a hard time saying anything to it because it's just nothing like I've ever heard before, but not really in a good way. The only words I can come up with are odd or like wild. The whole production is just kind of bizarre, and Justin's vocals seem like the background vocals to nothing. The wavy bass just sounds wrong and misplaced, but yet it's almost necessary because without it the song is not memorable at all, and so it just kind of ends up being necessary even though it shouldn't be. Midnight Summer Jam isn't really a country tune like the ones coming up. It honestly, it's just kind of one of the more basic pop songs on the track, and it's the one that people are actually eating up a bit more than the others right now, but I don't really feel like that's because it's some evolution in pop, but more because it's all they can get from it. Sauce isn't very country themed either, but it does have this kind of beachy feel, like I'm in a TV movie in a 60s convertible and I'm just driving around with my friends. I promise there is a country part, but ironically, Man of the Woods is also not very a country song. It ends up sounding a lot like Sauce, but just not as well put together or complete. It also has this sliding guitar that is in SpongeBob, and it really reminds me of that, and I can't get it out of my head for some reason. Supplies, the second single, is a track that I felt was really just didn't belong on the album at all. It has a trappy beat, which is totally misplaced in this. With Justin's kind of whiny vocals, it doesn't really complement either very well at all, and just I do not see how this was made on the album, or it blows my mind how this was a single. But from here on out, I promise that there is country. The Alicia Keys track is more slow and underwhelming, and is more of a vocal performance than anything, with some pop kicks and a country backing. Then the golden egg in The Spoiled is Say Something. The entire album should consist of tracks like this, but somehow he missed on all of them other than this, which he executes so extremely well. Justin sings with his normal voice for once, which is kind of nice to hear after all this, and Chris Stapleton's voice actually complements it very nicely. The chorus is catchy with the instrumentals, and honestly it's just country, modern country done right. Stapleton's verse was very buttery and smooth, that leads back into the chorus, and then every single chorus it gets more and more exciting, building the excitement inside me. It's just a great build to the final chorus, and it's just an explosion of singing and fun. Sadly, we have to move on from the masterpiece and back to the disappointments. Montana is a very bland track with a very devastatingly boring bass line that really has little to nothing to offer, along with the country aspect of it. The Hard Stuff is probably the most straight up country song on the album that is really just dropped by Justin's lack of effort. However, I must mention the instrumental is a lot better than the rest of the album, which collaborates modern pop bass and kicks along with this country guitar that just mesh oddly. Closing out the album then is Young Man, which Justin sounds a bit more normal on, which is again nice to hear, but he pulls through, but the production doesn't. It's a lot softer song, but there isn't much more than just this repetitive plucking throughout it all. So I decided, if you couldn't tell, that I didn't really like it. I'm giving this a 4 really just because of the awkwardness of it all. And like there were some solid ideas here and there, but I felt they were just executed poorly, and like they got very far into the album and they're like, damn, well this ain't what we wanted. And then they just kind of had to go with it because there was probably a deadline or something. Bright moments are present, but none really live more than for just a few seconds other than Say Something. Let me know what you thought of the video and the album in the comments below, and also let me know what album you want to see me looking at next. So yeah, hasta luego.